Alright, so I'm doing this again. I'm doing Unity videos again, and the reason being is I've refocused everything. Like, I've actually got a reason to do this series now, and it's because I've learned a lot from the trials and tribulations that went over in the past, like, half a year. That all was basically off of, if the scope of your game is too big, just split it off into a smaller game, cut it in half. And so I took that literally, and what I ended up doing is creating this game called Vanguard, which is basically me just focusing on the combat components of Heart of Gold, which was the original game I was trying to create and I made a series about. The main reason why that series went dead is because editing outweighed the amount of time I even spent on the project. And that's bad. That shows that I essentially lost a lot of spirit in the project, motivation, and they all stem from essentially not achieving your goal. So the whole point behind the series is to basically, first of all, teach you some tricks that you might not know about Unity, teach you how to do a few things, and also show off things that I've been making, as well as providing some motivational pointers along the way, because there's a lot you can learn about mentally as well as actually game related as well. They're all as important as each other. Here we are. You can tell it's very different, and if I just click on the arena area, very different. In fact, we have cubes. And in the previous episodes I was trying to create art, but I suck at art and didn't even know what I wanted to create art-wise. I tried to use Hotline Miami as a reference, and that's because Hotline Miami is one of our inspirations. That is not going to work. I'm not so talented as an artist that I can just create ideas off the fly. And that's very apparent because I failed to do so and the series died because of it. What was really holding me back and really making me lose motivation about my project is very important. One of the YouTubers that I watched who was talking about game development and mentality was, I think he calls it dark work, or it was dark work. And what dark work meant was essentially you're working on code that in the long run doesn't have any effect on the gameplay of the game. So say if you was working on a power-up system, okay, but the power-up system was created in like an object-oriented sense, which is exactly what I've done, by the way. You can see that Unity and C# have essentially allowed me to discover a lot of object-oriented patterns to follow, as well as conventions and really effective ways to use it through inheritance and overriding. This is exactly what I've done here. It's super powerful. But if I go ahead and use the control-click feature in VS Code, which is basically my favorite program at the moment, we can look at the base class, and the base class has loads of stuff. But what's more important is that I defined a base set of stuff that is all inherited and then overridden into their individual implementations. So I have speed boost and heart, as well as the common trigger script, which would be attached to the power-up game object. It's not as simple as thinking just about you want to achieve the object-oriented system this way and then doing it. You could do some class diagrams, but let's face it, I really wasn't that experienced back then. I was just starting out, and just starting out is very daunting because you don't even know what 80% of this interface is doing. It's all just sort of there. You're not sure how it links with anything that you're trying to accomplish or how it helps you. Really try to shy away from doing any kind of dark work, and the way to remedy that problem is by doing rapid prototyping. Rapid prototyping is really important in the real world because when you're trying to create applications, you need to give a version which you can show to project leaders and investors in your product. And then you'll be tasked to do a rapid prototype that will encase probably basic features, half-finished UI, the works, but it will be a rapid prototype. You don't get hung up on making the code efficient per se, you're just sort of doing it. And as you get better at creating object-oriented code, this becomes less of a problem. And in fact, creating the object-oriented structure becomes part of the fun of doing it, and so it doesn't actually matter that you're doing dark work because you're so experienced at object orientation that it actually becomes quite fun to try to design these networks. But that you'll know when the time comes when that's actually a thing. Just focus on rapid prototyping and shy away from dark work, but there is a time and place for it, okay? And, you know, just don't get stuck up on certain things to the point where you don't feel motivated to work on the project. Now, another reason or another method you can use to deal with these issues is if I go to, not here, it's a web browser. So if you go to Trello, you can design a board to plan out elements of your game. Trello is super effective. However, you need to know how to use Trello for it to be as effective as I'm saying it is. And Trello is hella effective, for lack of a better word. So the main reason why Trello is effective, the idea is you have a backlog, okay? So this is the backlog of everything that I say I need to get done. Then we have the doing. So this is the active sprint, which I'll try to accomplish by the end of the day or by the end of the week. So by the end of the day, I'm hoping to achieve these, which is actually really simple because I already did this, and they're kind of linked. Just another class system that'll be really easy to set up. And you have the completed to mark down everything you've completed. This links into the next step. Right, I'm not sure how much I'm revealing when I'm doing this. Probably not a lot, but... So on GitHub, you can obviously use source control for your project. And the most important part about source control is you can look in your commit history and create summaries of each stage in your development, as well as look at code in the past to get ideas on something you may have removed. Among those things, there's an insane amount of usefulness to, again, having the history, but also seeing how far your project has come, as well as when you have multiple contributors to your project, this becomes almost essential. So this is a huge life hack. Now, I have private repos, that's a pro-only feature, but you can sign up for something, it's a student-only thing, and if you have like a UCAS account, I believe, I can't really remember the specifics, you can, it's like a GitHub student pack. There's a file size limit between each item, but there's no overall file size limit, so you can go ham. And I've backed up FL Studio work, I've obviously backed up Vanguard, and I have website code, my Pomodoro timer that I made, Heart of Gold, which, by the way, just to show you how dead it is, it was last updated last year in September. That's dead. That's pretty dead. I also have my school project here, which is a big thing made in processing, which I'll show off one day. I completed an insane amount of work on this, and it's nowhere near completion, but I'll show it off. You can see how long this completed sprints list is. Nuts. Absolutely nuts. Fucking loads of features. Over 100 hours spent on the project. So you can see how I've used the inactive, the active sprint, and completed sprints, and it's so much more focused, and plus you could put goals on the side, and then you can see how your overall self is doing, and what you're really accomplishing. So I'm doing that with Vanguard, and this really is the way to get things done, because not only does it improve motivation, but it also works as a place to put all of your ideas, and then even efficientize those ideas, as well as you could put the goals on the side and hallmark each stage, each step in development you're trying to achieve. And as well as look back at how far your project has come, which is another way of trying to push you forward even more. And when you have one column for active sprint, it's more, you have a clearer focus on what you're trying to achieve in your given time frame. So you can start to assign these things called SMART targets, where you follow this loosely, but it's basically specific of what you're trying to accomplish, and the more specific your goal, the easier it is to complete, technically. Measurable is how long will it take to basically achieve that, or that's what time bound is as well. So measurable just means that you need to consider your goal to see if it's actually meetable within a set time frame. Then you discuss if it's achievable, if it's relevant to your goals, and then time in which you'll achieve it in. So source control, Trello, and don't do dark work. Those are my main tips. Now on to the actual video. So I need to showcase a lot of things that I've changed about the game in comparison to Heart of Gold, and the best way to show you is to play it. So I think we'll just do that. So we press tab and we have our skills menu here. You can see how I've made a plethora. I've got Big League, Third Degree. Well, Big League, basically these two work off attack combos. So here you can read them. Attacking 4 times charges through enemies and knocks them back. And Third Degree, attacking 3 times makes you spin around and devastate enemies in a circle. Then we have Guard, which is holding X creates a strong 360 degree guard that is inspired off of Spironites that absorbs all damage for 3 seconds. And you can unguard, but you wouldn't be able to guard for 1 second. Lockdown helps improve combat gameplay, so it's available early on, or the earliest on. Holding down left mouse click locks onto enemies, focusing them. Dash is really simple, you dash in a target direction. And Focus Dash lets you dash even while stunned or encumbered, like doing an attack for example, or while guarding. So it's really, really strong. So you can see, I should probably be explaining some things. Power-ups show up here. Really cool radial system. And we have our hearts, of course. So the enemies have a chance of dropping a power-up or hearts. And you can see how the music was changing. I added that very recent. That's my most recent feature, as you can see from my Trello. So let's try out Big League. And that's Big League for you. So you can actually just like sort of charge up your attack by attacking in space. I think that's a really cool strategy. And we can only move on when the last is dead. One thing to note is every time I attack, the enemy actually gets stunned, so... Alright, let's do dash. So as you can see, I can dash away. And I use the rigid body physics to do the rotations and stuff like that. Let's try lock-on. So, lock-on can be a bit... It's really good when you have both combat skills, but other than that, yeah, I mean... See, I just showed you how I can get killed pretty easily doing it, which is great shit. But yeah, now you can play this game on my website. Not my website. Let me correct myself. You can play this game on the link in the description. It's not hosted on my website at all, in fact. So one cool feature about GitHub as well, among every other insane feature about it, is if you have a look in docs, I need to stop saying here I have essentially the basic infrastructure for a website. I have the index HTML, some style script, and some fonts I poured over. But, so if I go into File and Build Settings, and I go to the WebGL option, you can export your game to be played on a web player. Now this is insane, because the moment someone doesn't need to download your game physically and run the exe file, you can amplify how much testing gets done by a lot, because people don't have a problem with going to a website to play a game. Now to make it use the docs folder and to host it as a website, you can use, if you go to the settings, you can use this button here and just say the /docs folder is to be used for GitHub pages, and then it will go ahead and compile changes to your website. Although it isn't compiling, it's interpreting, because that's how websites work. So then it's really easy. You just go to here, /Vanguard, and even if you have a private repo, it will allow people to see the web release. So this one's going to differ from the version that I have. It's not going to have music, and I'll show it to you. Okay, so there you go. And you can see the web version doesn't have music, so by the time the video goes up, it will probably have the latest release that I made in Unity today, so it will have music. Probably a greater variety than it does even in my release right now too. But here it is, and you can play it, and the hit sound is different on the web version for no particular reason. But, yeah, have fun. That is literally, and if I compare that to basically the game I was making before, this is about 100 times funner than the previous game. Previous game is absolute dog. Subscribe if you'd like to see more content regarding Unity, and also development in a plethora of things. I also really like to make music, so that's cool. I'm also going to be iterating over the game in the next month for a Young Game Designers contest, which means I'll be kicking up the dev. Probably press the bell for alerts if you definitely want to prioritize seeing developer type videos. And thank you for watching.